Deep Dive Film School makes no claim of ownership of the film footage used in this episode. The film footage is owned entirely by the copyright holders. Also, we're going to spoil the hell out of this movie, so this is your warning. Welcome to Deep Dive Film School.
This week we continue our Courtroom Cinema Festival with 1992 Joe Pesci classic My Cousin Vinny. My Cousin Vinny!
Let's dive on in, huh?
Hey!
All right, everybody. I am Adam Sherlock.
And I'm Adam Pulcher.
And if you like what you see/hear, please like and subscribe. You can find us in all the places and spaces that most people imbibe their media. How's that?
Sold it. All right, let's get into the second installment of our Courtroom Cinema Festival. 1992's My Cousin Vinny. Joe Pesci kind of in a phase of his career where he's been a gangster pretty much every other movie he's been in.
Yep.
And so he's not necessarily shedding that, but he's twisting it like De Niro did. His good friend De Niro
sort
did
of analyze this. Yeah.
Or Meet the Parents.
Toying with his image, right? Like his image is a heavy hitter, kind of toying with it in this way.
I remember I loved this movie and The Super. I don't know if you remember.
I remember The Super. Yeah.
That was just one that was on HBO all the time, and I always watched it. I love that movie. I haven't visited in a while, but pretty interesting. We have some knockout performances here with Pesci and Tomei. They're really the standouts and the really important part in the meat of this movie. Mm-hmm. Written by Dale Launer, who wrote Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Really?
He also wrote The Hustle that just came out, which is basically Dirty Rotten Scoundrels with girls. And then Love Potion number 9. And who could forget the classic Whoopi Goldberg Eddie movie Eddie, where I think she like coaches the Knicks or something in it. I don't even remember.
My God. I mean, well, honestly, how many Whoopi Goldberg films can you name off the top of your head?
Ghost.
Yeah.
Sister Act.
Okay. Jumpin' Jack Flash.
Yep, Jumpin' Jack Flash. What's the one with Ted Danson?
Made in America.
Isn't it Made in America?
Oh, God. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she was on Star Trek for a long time.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Directed by Jonathan Lynn, who directed the movie Clue.
Really? Oh, funny. Wow. Yeah. Oh, okay. I love that
movie. Also the not so strong, maybe song. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen it. But Nuns on the Run.
What is Nuns on the Run?
It's like guys dressed as nuns. It's silly.
God. It sounds like a fake movie from a Simpsons episode.
Somehow I packed in 2 nun movie references in the first 5 minutes.
That's good, man.
Show,
That's talent right there.
Lynn has a law degree and insisted some of the legal proceedings in this movie to be realistic. And many attorneys and law professors praise this movie and for its accurate depiction of trial strategy and courtroom procedure, especially with regards to presenting expert witnesses at trial, which is a major part of the movie at the end.
Totally.
And it's actually been screened at some law schools and illustrates to illustrate courtroom procedures. And the American Bar Association has it ranked number 3 film on 25 greatest legal movies.
Oh my God! I had no idea.
I know. Me neither. Like, I watch this, I'm like, yeah, it's good. It's really fun. Yeah. Like, it's a cute movie, and like, watching him be this fish out of water is a blast and everything. But like, this is definitely the least serious of our festival. But I think it's fun to throw the different types of
that is so surprising that it's that accurate. I thought it was too. I had no idea.
That revered. I was really surprised by that too. But have again an awesome cast here: Joe Pesci, Marissa Tomei. The wonderful, wonderful Ralph Macchio hasn't aged a day,
and his little mustache. I think we need to acknowledge his wispy little mustache.
Yeah, I guess he's got a little one here. I didn't really.
Yeah, when the light catches it, you can see it. So yeah,
we also have Fred Gwynn.
Fred Gwynn,
and Bruce McGill.
Herman Munster, of course.
Yes, oh man, of course.
Mitchell Whitfield, who didn't really go on to do a lot, but
he's awesome here.
I love him here. He's so funny.
He's the paranoid friend in the car at the beginning.
Yeah, he definitely is.
Big old Buick driving down the highway.
Which we never find out what they're doing. Like, what are they doing? We never.
Where
find
are they
out.
going?
Yeah.
I think we do. I think they...
Are they just on a road trip through the South?
No, they're going cross country. For some reason, I can't remember. It was a school, maybe. I
couldn't figure that out. But so they stop at this little like one-horse town, and they're
Suds and Stop.
Yeah, Suds and Stop, and they get
Alabama.
Yep, in Alabama, and they get Ralph Macchio puts a can of tuna fish in his jacket pocket. And then it turns into this, like, it's a cute beginning to the movie, but it also is, like, it's so corny, it's kind of hard to hold on to, of, like, they implicate themselves in a murder to such a degree before anyone, the cops or either one of them, say what they're talking about. And at some point I was like, okay. We've gone so far down the rabbit hole with that,
and we're not even 10 minutes into the movie.
Yeah,
yeah, I agree. They definitely I actually really enjoyed that part. I think it's kind of fun. How realistic it is, I don't know. But they get a gun pulled on them, and they think it's the tuna. And they're like, oh, those harsh Alabama laws.
Which again, I'm just like, I know this isn't a realistic movie, but I was just like, oh boy. Okay. All right. Like, okay, I'm gonna buckle in for this.
The confession scene, I think, is pretty classic, and the misunderstanding there is a fun, like, I don't know. I thought it was a fun way to kind of interject, like, the rest of the movie and foreshadow what's happening. Obviously, this is pretty unrealistic to have all of this happen, and the fact that someone's driving a very... Well, we'll get into that.
The cars,
the logistics,
the
cars and everything like that. So, I don't know. The miscommunication is definitely like, ooh, you do so many things to implicate yourself in this first few scenes.
And I guess that my thing, okay, and I'll say this, it's fine, except
I shot the clerk.
Exactly. Wait, I shot the clerk. So it's fine, except then there is an equally eye-rolling misunderstanding literally in the next like 2 scenes later where Michael Whitfield's character thinks that Vinny is
I loved it.
But I was like, dude, that's 2 gags back to back of neither person saying what they're actually there to do. And he's like, I didn't ask you to come down here to jerk me off. And he's like, I am not doing that. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, you could have at least had 3 or 4 scenes between the two. There was just a couple, like, okay, I will say this right up front. I loved watching this movie again. I think it is a fantastic film. There's a handful of moments in it that feel really clunky. And to me, this is one of them. That they do 2 of those right back to back. I was like, they're both really funny. Like,
they are. That's
spread it out a little bit more. At least
I agree. I see that. It wouldn't have worked though later in the movie, but I agree that it was back to back. But they pulled it off for me because it is really funny, especially the one in the jail cell.
That's the one though where I'm just like, it's right after the first one, and I'm like, oh my God, okay.
They definitely do the same joke, and I was like, oh, is this gonna be a thing through the whole movie? And it wasn't.
Well, yeah, it's like a Three's Company bit.
Totally.
You know, where they're in the next room and they're like, you know,
Tripper.
Yeah, Jack's trying to put up like the curtains.
The plumbing.
Well, he's putting up the curtains and he's like, Chrissy, hold on to this. And she's like, I want to, but it's so slippery. And then you've got Don Knotts in the next room going, whoa. Yeah.
Okay, Chrissy, I'll get in the tub with you, then we can get it on.
I don't think it'll reach.
Of course not. You've got to unfold it first.
Exactly. And I'm like, dude, how many times can you get away with that shit? Anyway, sorry. I'm not gonna do this movie through a fine-tooth comb. That was just one of my observations where I was like,
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I can see that. I love their entrance to this podunk town in Alabama, and he just sticks out like a sore thumb. Yeah, you blend.
Yeah.
And Tomei is just always infectious on screen. She actually won an Academy Award for this movie.
She won an Academy Award for this.
But man, she's just cute as hell.
Oh my god, and she's so funny. Everything she says is just hilarious. Like, she's
and
such a
like,
great
what is she?
character.
At least 20 years younger than him.
Yeah, and always in these, like, when she's in the like crazy one piece
her
pantsuit
outfits.
that's like all flowers on it. Like, just
She's got some great outfits in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
But so these guys get implicated for this murder through all this obvious. I love that he calls us mom. He's like, "Hey, it's no big deal. I'm just on trial for murder."
Yeah. Ma, no, it's okay.
It's fine.
It's fine.
You know these people down here.
Yeah. Well, and then he's sitting there going, "We're being set up. We're being set up to be total patsies. You know these people down here." And he's like, all of them are watching him, and he's like, they'll sleep with their cousins. They're all members of the KKK, and he like looks up and he's like, well, okay, not all of you, but come on, some of you.
But we find out, this is Vinny's first case. His first murder case, definitely, and he's basically an ambulance chaser, is what it seems like. He's never been to trial. He's been 6 weeks. Took him 6 years to pass the bar. All this stuff.
It's so bad. And I think it's interesting too, because we get him kind of, as this sort of complainer, fast talking, the New York Italian guy, kind of classic thing again, in playing off of this trope that he's made. But what's interesting is that at first it's funny and it's all played for jokes. And it's also played for us to understand how he's going to keep screwing everything up and he's going to be really annoying. But then it starts to become this really interesting thing. And I'd say the first moment that we really see it is in what, in my opinion, is actually one of the best scenes of the movie. But it's not a very showy scene, which is this hotel room flirtatious scene between him and Marissa Tomei about the dripping faucet. And you get this insight into the way that their sort of bedroom talk with each other, which is almost this litigation speak style thing where they're playing back and forth and they're BSing each other. But the tit for tat is done so well and it's so very funny. But it's also an important piece of exposition because it shows you what his brain is like. And just like later when Ralph Macchio's saying, Vinny was a huge pain in the ass to the birthday magician because he kept figuring out all of his tricks, right? And so it's like it is this kind of brash, New Yorker Italian version of a Sherlock Holmesian way of deduction and asking questions, right?
That's funny.
That he's figuring out all these things, but in the beginning it just seems like he's being annoying and unprofessional. And then you go, oh, this is how his brain works, right? This is how he figures this stuff out. And I thought that was such a fun observation.
No, absolutely. I really think, obviously this movie's about the trial and getting them off this murder case, but I ultimately, after rewatching it, this movie's about them. I think it's
totally
just as much about them and their relationship and their growth as a couple in this. And that's who we pull away at the credits. So it's obviously about them.
It's totally about them, and I think it's also sort of about he won't take her help, and it's like he knows that she's smart. And he knows, and that's why he's with her. But he also kind of just takes her for granted a lot of the time, and isn't willing to really kind of put her front and center to be able to say, "You're smart. Like I need your help on this stuff, right?" And once he's able to do that, it shows an interesting growth of a character. Now, I talked about last week that, one of the, and I'm jumping around a whole bunch, obviously, but one of the, to me, pivotal things about sort of that courtroom cinema is the kind of dark night of the soul. Can I actually do this? And it happens to him very early on. It's not the night before the end of the case. It's like the night after, there's this running joke where he keeps getting
woken up.
He keeps getting locked up for contempt of court,
Contempt of court.
right?
Yeah.
It's like over and over and over again. Yeah, and then he gets the woken up gag is great too. But I think that like
That is great. That's the one joke that goes throughout the movie that does continually work.
yeah, it never
And
gets
there's
old.
All these different there's all these different ways of and that I mean I honestly thought of Al Pacino and Insomnia at a point.
I was thinking about
where
that too.
where he can't sleep for the love of anything. Like just and he's already got the weight of this case weighing on him. He doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, he's uncomfortable pretty quickly, which I think shows a lot actually about the character and the kind of movie this is trying to be. So I think that's kind of interesting. And then you have his kind of nemesis through this movie, who's the judge, who's played by Fred Gwynn, who's just such a classic looking guy. But,
Dude,
he
I
plays
wish
this,
he would have gotten
Southern conservative. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's in Alabama, which you assume
Yeah.
that it's going to be this like, we'll let stuff slide. And instead, he is like,
Well, Vinny's definitely too casual and cavalier
with
as he
his
says
with
in the
his
movie.
dress, and he's like, I want you to have a suit on that has some kind of cloth because he's all in all leather. And then when he looks at them, he goes,
leather and cowboy boots.
He goes, "You were serious about that?" Like that's definitely one of the laugh out loud moments in this. I have to say, I wish that Fred Gwynn had gotten the opportunity to do more things, because when I see him not being Herman Munster, he is so much fun. I love him in Pet Sematary.
Has anyone ever buried a person up there?
Christ on his throne, no.
I love him
Yep.
here. He nails the accents. He nails the accent in Pet Sematary, and this one doing the Alabama accent, he totally nails it. He's like a great kind of heavy, but then when he needs to do the kind of like, like he has to have these moments of him being like, "What did you say?" Right, and it still works. Like it fits with his character.
Absolutely. We get his counterpart, who's I forgot his name, but he's in a handful of movies. He's that guy, right? He's that guy.
Oh, definitely the
forgot his
prosecutor.
Yeah, the prosecutor, and
I can't think of his
they've
name
got to
right now
be
either, but we'll
they've
put
got
it
to
up.
be chomping at the bit when they see him walk in, and just the way he handles himself in court for the first few times, you're just like, oh man, this is brutal.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's uncomfortable.
Well, to see him and the
it's like-
sheriff like snickering underneath their, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like,
Totally. Well, just say guilty or not guilty. It's pretty straightforward. Like, I don't know what's so hard to
it's just
to understand here.
and you because you already know who Vinny is, just putting him in those situations, you're like, don't do it, and he's like,
Yeah.
well, I'm not an idiot. It's pretty easy. He's like, actually, you're still not doing it. You still can't do it. Right, and then he shows up in the purple suit later because of the
the
mud
tux.
and these and those are
He's
fun
got high
because
priorities for his court.
well, it seems like there's a handful of little kind of buckets that this movie is playing with, and obviously the biggest one that all the drama and all the sort of the larger kind of comedic elements and the story devices, all that courtroom stuff. And then it's like when he leaves the courtroom, we get him trying grits for the first time. We get him interviewing some of the witnesses for
What's
the
a
first
grit?
time. Yeah, what's a grit, right? Like all of that kind of stuff, like trying to sleep, them sleeping in the car and then it raining and getting stuck. It's like all those are little buckets along the way.
I think the script understands comedy. I think it hits the points. It hits on the, the gags that kind of go throughout. It has good timing for a lot of them. I think another gag that they do is this where she gets stiffed at pool.
Yeah.
And she goes to collect the money.
Can I? And this is my other problem with this movie. It's not this stuff. This is the side plot with JT, right? As the guy who swindled her out of
$200.
$200. All of their interactions later of, is that just a 20 wrapped around a bunch of ones, right? Like all that stuff is awesome. But let me ask you this. We never saw the first pool hustle scene. Mm-hmm. She just brings it up after getting him out of jail the first time. Like I tried to make some more money, but all our traveler's checks are gone. I'm like, did they film it and then something happened to the footage and they couldn't, because I was like, that is the weirdest thing that we didn't get to see Marissa Tomei at the beginning of the movie in this small podunk town try to hustle a guy in a pool game. We should have seen that scene, right?
Yeah, probably.
How weird is that?
Maybe they did shoot it. I didn't read anything about that when I was researching the film.
But it was one of these things where I was wait, what? Like, you tried to hustle somebody?
It feels a little thrown in.
And then it ends up becoming this great little secondary side plot of him getting the money.
Yeah, just another funny joke.
And all those scenes are great, but I was just like, why did we not get Marissa Tomei out on her own at a bar trying to hustle a couple of guys from Alabama? Certainly seems like something you would want in your movie.
So the trial begins, and starting with testimony, he doesn't ask questions. Like, he's falling asleep. You're like, dude, you're so bad at this.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing here? Like, the other guy, opposite of Ralph Macchio, hires another lawyer who's a stuttering lawyer.
You know who that is?
Which is kind of interesting.
I was like,
he's from Short Circuit, right?
Well, he's in Short Circuit. The actor's name is Austin Pendleton. And the one I always remember, he's the nebbish dweeb who's the son-in-law of Orson Welles in Catch-22. Well, now, Dad, and he's like, don't call me father just because my brain-dead daughter decided to get married to your dumbass. Like, yeah, Dad. That's what I always remember him as. And he's so great here in the 5 minutes he's in it. Because he does seem like so laid back and cool. And then the second he gets up there, he can't even get a sentence out.
Apparently, he has a problem with stuttering as well.
Really?
And he didn't want to do the scene but he's friends with the director and owed him a favor or something and ended up doing it. But he didn't want to portray people with real stuttering. But like, that's actually him stuttering. So,
oh wow. Wow, that's crazy. Oh, that's so sad. That makes me sad now that he actually has that.
I love this little note here where he's like, I'm going to go fishing or hunting with him, and then I'm going to ask for his files. And this whole thing. And
her response
thinks he's the shit. Yeah.
She's like, he has to give you his files. It's called disclosure, you dickhead. Like, I love that line. And she's reading through the big manual of his, right? Like, and she's figuring this stuff out. And I think that stuff is fantastic.
And they go through the jury selection and they really kind of showed the Alabama side of some of these people, like, fry them.
Yeah, totally.
The lady says fry them. So, I don't know, but yeah, it's pretty funny. The trial stuff is fun. He finally kind of gets his own after a minute and proves his worth. And becomes that person that Ralph Macchio and she thinks that he can be.
But it's this mixture.
Really
it's a mixture of him actually learning the stuff he's supposed to learn, right? Like, he actually is like taking this stuff in. He does get a regular suit, right? He's doing those things, but at the same time, it's combined with his weird trivia knowledge about grits. And how long it takes for grits to cook, right? And
the magic grits. Your magic grits.
Yeah. In your kitchen, on your stove, right? Like, all that stuff. The other one that is like, and I think that last like 15 minutes of the trial stuff, just over and over and over again, I'm laughing out loud. Such funny stuff. Probably my favorite is when he's like, okay, and now on the front lawn, what are those big things right there? There's 5 of them. What are those big things? And he's like, trees. He's like, trees, that's right. Don't be shy. Just shout out the answer if you know it. Like, that kind of stuff is so perfect.
Well, I think much like, the one we did last week with A Few Good Men, it really comes down to the performances here, right? It maybe doesn't follow all of Rob Reiner's rules that we discussed last week, but I think the performances and having great actors, because the case is fun, intriguing, and you never really like fear they're going to get the electric chair or anything.
Not really.
There's nothing like that going on, but it's really more about him finding himself and them finding themselves. It's not even really about Ralph Macchio and and his buddy as much.
No.
Like it's about saving them, but it's really more about them as a couple and him discovering that he really has an act.
Well, and that's the thing that I kind of, at the end of this, I was like a little bit puzzled by, is obviously like the movie was incredibly popular. Won Marissa Tomei an Academy Award. The performances in it are brilliant, but tonally, this movie's really strange, actually, because if you think about it, it's an R-rated comedy, but the only R is language, right? There isn't even any really dark or inappropriate humor, but then the things that are dark in it, we see a murdered body in the first 5 minutes of the movie, right? And then we get these moments of them in their jail cell looking up and the light is dimming and blinking because they're frying a guy right now. And you go, this is so, like, tonally it does a couple things that I'm like, this is kind of interesting. And I couldn't really place other movies like that from I agree. You know what I mean? Like
it was trying to balance a few different styles, and like there was even a point at the beginning, and it really was only in the beginning. I kind of wish they either stuck with it or didn't do it, but like they almost tilt the camera like Scorsese does, and has this kind of askew
Dutch
shot,
angle kind of,
like, like and I'm just like, oh, that's kind of weird choice for a comedy, but okay. And then they kind of just went away from it, where I think you could easily pull that off in a courtroom scene too.
Yeah, and I wonder,
they never went back there as much.
And I guess now that,
at least noticeably,
now that we're talking about it, Clue does that too.
Really?
Clue also, I think, has, it's a comedy. Obviously, it's a super kind of wacky comedy, but like stylistically, like some of it's kind of weird, and some of it seems like it's trying to be a little bit darker than maybe it is, or trying to, I don't know. I wonder about that sort of little bit of genre bending and these kind of moments where I'm like, again, it's weird to even, you almost never see that nowadays, that you have a movie that is a comedy that's R and isn't going to have a bunch of sex jokes in it, isn't going to have nudity or some
violence.
or violence or some like real off-color kind of stuff happen in it. It's like, this movie doesn't have any of that. Like, it's actually, other than the language in it, it's a very wholesome film. Like one murder and one murder and a bunch of F-bombs, but other than that, like, pretty wholesome movie.
I love when they go to this cabin on the woods and her biological clock is ticking.
Oh my god,
that whole scene, and he's wearing these like stupid basketball shoes that are all white, and like you're just like, who are you? Like, you're so not in the right place. But he's trying to get some sleep finally.
Yeah.
Out here, and this is like the prosecutor's cabin and all this stuff, and you're like, is he playing him or? Like, and he ends up, no, not really.
No, not really. In fact, he's actually the only person who is not playing him, but definitely not giving him a fair shake, actually is the judge, because he's like, I didn't know about this. And he's like, well, too bad. Actually, the prosecutor is like, calls him up the night before to say, hey, I'm going to have a new piece of evidence tomorrow. Like, he isn't, I think by the end of it, he's impressed with him, right? And so, like, I think there's some areas that you think that it might take a twist into, and it won't do it, right? It refuses to go to some of those twists that you think it's going to.
Well, it's for the most part, outside of the courtroom, he's really in mostly a dark place, and like doesn't seem like he knows what he's doing. He may have had a good day, but like there's still stuff looming, and outside of in the courtroom, he really is struggling through a lot of this movie. It's kind of interesting for a comedy where he catches some breaks, and you see him going out and investigating and doing this stuff, but like for the most part, he really actualizes himself and his character in the courtroom.
Yeah. I love Pesci's performance here, and it's so funny. I
love his flaunting when he's rolling, right? When he
agree.
Knows he's got control of the room.
I think
that's really fun.
The only thing I didn't like, and it's not his fault or the movie's fault or anything, it's that I kind of think that maybe maybe like 15 years ago, Donald Trump watched this movie and was like, that's how I'll act. Because this like, oh, and like and even his hair, this swoopy hair, I'm like, it was there were times where it was hard to enjoy it because I was like, this is who he acts like. Like I finally realized it after all these years.
The policies of the government right now just don't allow it, because really what's happened by the tax incentives that were taken away and by the lack of federal programs. You used to have federal programs, you don't have them anymore.
I was telling you, you're dishonest people. Sort of enjoy this back and forth. How many times do I have to answer this question? I do get good ratings, you have to admit that.
Donald Trump acts like My Cousin Vinny, and like...
and President Business from the Lego Movie.
A
mixture of the two.
But you know what I mean? Like, once I kind of realized that, because I was like, oh my God, is that really what's happening? And then once it occurred to me, I couldn't not see it anymore. And so it was a little...
That's funny.
It made it not... It didn't make it hard to enjoy, but it was just like, I couldn't get it out of my brain.
Sure, I could see that. So, Marissa Tomei finally gets to help out, and she doesn't even know she's helping.
Yep.
She's trying to do anything she does with her cute little pink camera that she's just going around taking pictures
Oh
of
my
everything.
God.
And he rails on her with these pictures. I feel so bad in this scene. This is like, they fight and bicker, but it's more fun and kind of flirtatious, like you were saying. But this scene, he's like really cruel.
Yeah, he's mean to her.
And,
although it is pretty funny that he's like, you cracked the case. And it's a picture of him in the shower.
Me in the shower. Like, I couldn't feel bad about myself enough already.
Yeah.
But, we get this magic grits argument. We get the expertise that they do bring in an expert witness on the fly here.
Another one of those that guys. Another character actor. He's in the Game. That's always the one I think of.
Yep, absolutely. Gosh, I wish I knew his name. He's awesome, though.
Yeah, he is.
He's always good. But, she's proving she can help. But, I don't know, it's fun to watch unfold. This is a fun movie. But probably not my favorite of the festival.
She definitely gets to rattle off some amazing dialogue here at the very end where she is the expert witness. And the whole, like, that's why it's a 65 Skylock. Like, that, all of that stuff. To me, I'm like, you can see how she won an Academy Award for that, because you go, that to be able to do that the way that she did it, and somehow her character is always endearing, and it's, even though the voice is obnoxious and her hair can be obnoxious and her outfits are obnoxious, she isn't. She is like, you love her and you're like rooting for her the whole time. And that's such a balance to be able to do that and yet still play this really bombastic kind of character.
Joe Pesci's great, but she's the best part of the movie.
She's the best part of the movie.
Is that it? No, there's more.
Yeah, and she's just that one little wisp of blonde hair.
Oh, it's like it actually reminded me of the mom at the end of Poltergeist who gets this.
Yeah, Joe Beth Williams. Yeah,
Joe Beth
Don't
Williams,
you think it's kind of punk rock? I think I'm going to keep it.
Yeah, no, she's great in this movie. Cool. Well, that is the second installment of our Courtroom Cinema Festival. Next week we'll be doing Amistad, and then after that we are going to be doing our final installment, which is 12 Angry Men. Super excited to talk about that one.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we'll end it out with a forgotten gem of Primal Fear.
Yep.
So excited for this festival. Thanks for listening, guys. Make sure you subscribe in all the places and spaces. Give us a like. Do all that stuff. And we will see you next week.
All right. See ya.
Have you ever seen the movie Kick-Ass?
Yeah, like right around when it first came out, I think.
Me too, and I remembered loving it, and I just watched it tonight with my son, and holy shit, that is a great underrated movie.
Is it?
It's it really is. Chloe Moretz,
Yeah,
is
Plays
so
Hit Girl.
awesome as at Hit Girl. Like, she is badass in this movie. I love that she's 11-year-old, and Nick Cage is her dad, who's Big Daddy.
So she was 11 when they made that?
Yeah, man, her parents signed off on that, I guess, but she's an awesome actress.
But she's saying like, isn't she has like crazy like lines of dialogue? Some of the stuff that she says, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Isn't it?
Big time.
I mean, would
she's
you
also stabbing guys in the face?
Okay, now you have a daughter that's roughly the same age. If she was like, look, this script, my producer gave it to me, Dad, and I really want to do it, and she had to do those kinds of things, what would you do?
I don't know. No way she would ever do that. But
I'm just trying to put you into the.
Being wwho I am, I would probably endorse it. But
right.
You have to be pretty grown up child actor to understand it and deliver an amazing performance in it.
And I guess that's my thing is I go, was there a conversation that has to be had where it's like, look, I know that you want to do this and you're an actor and you're a professional, but I just want to let you know, as a person in their 40s, you might feel differently in 5 years about this than you do right now. Maybe not. Maybe you'll be super excited. But
I hope she's proud of it. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, that's got to be a weird thing to try and talk to a preteen about. Right? Like,
yeah, well, I won't be showing her the movie.
Right. No.
Past the age.
But that happens too, right? Like people are in like kids are in like rated R super violent movies, and then like they can't watch them until years later. It's such a weird concept.